For this episode this week, I think we had planned to do a different topic, but something happened yesterday and it completely changed our plan for today.
So yesterday I found out that I lost my job. Mm-hmm. All I thought about was, what are people going to say about me? This feels like I failed.
You failed
everyone.
then. I quit my job, I think 2 weeks after my mom died. I was like, they wanted me to come back after 2 weeks, and I had limited PTO, and I was like, I'm not ready to come back.
It's only up from here.
And then it's down from here. For this episode this week, I think we had planned to do a different topic, but something happened yesterday and it completely changed our plan for today.
So yesterday I found out that I lost my job. Mm-hmm. And this episode is going to be a live kind of processing of what's going on. And so I do apologize if my thoughts are kind of scattered, but I wanted to be honest with you guys on what was going on in my life and in our lives always, because I think this is the reality of someone's life in their mid-20s. And it's unglamorous.
It's definitely unglamorous, yeah.
But it's important to share because life is not all sunshine and rainbows. And I hope that by me sharing, it helps everyone else that's going through something similar to this feel less lonely.
Agreed.
So, hi, I'm Janice.
I'm Emily.
And this is 4 years later, where
we talk about the unglamorous parts about being in our mid-20s as Asian American women, all 4 years after college.
So yesterday I found out that I lost my job.
How are you feeling?
Honestly, my heart is racing, saying it over and over again.
It's a vulnerable place to be in.
It is vulnerable, and it only adds to the embarrassment. Like every time I say it, I don't feel more settled or more in control. I just feel more embarrassed. Like I have to keep reminding myself that in 2 weeks I'm going to be unemployed.
Yeah.
But
fair.
I guess to give context to the situation, my contract is ending at the end of February.
Yes.
And they're not going to renew it. But when I was originally hired, they were promising me a full-time position. Then I constantly was asking about a contract update.
Yeah.
And when I was going to get that full-time position and what it was based off of. And it turned into, oh, your contract's just going to get renewed because we don't have enough money to bring you on full-time.
Right.
Now, yesterday, I got a call out of the blue. The meeting was set up 2 hours before, and my temporary manager told me, we can't renew your contract because the company's losing a lot of money. We're on budget constraints. So it's not a part of the tech layoffs, but
nevertheless, the outcome for you is the same.
Yeah. I think I can find solace in the fact that it wasn't my performance.
Yes.
I asked straight up because I needed to know.
Yeah, it's fair.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's scary. I didn't expect it. I thought I would just be renewing my contract. It's just something I had to settle for. Yeah.
That's really fair. Like you mentioned your manager saying like no one's contract was going to be getting renewed. So is this a conversation that like everyone in the company is like having right now, like this week?
So what she told me was that 2 nights ago, the CEO sent out an email saying, hey guys, we're doing really badly, and in 2023, we're only going to be losing money and not making money, but we will stay strong, whatever, all that stuff.
Without all of our contracted workers.
Right. And then my manager scheduled that call, and she said that HR was reviewing all of the contracts that were about to be expired in February and in March and probably April. And they were just going to not renew any of those because they couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah. It's so crazy that, like, I've never been a contract worker, so I don't know how it works, but, like, I feel like the grace period for, like, letting someone know that they won't be able to come back and renew their contract should be, like, minimum a month. Like,
even so, the 2 weeks was something my temporary manager had to fight for because she told me on Friday, and she said that HR said the last day would have been Monday. So I didn't even have a business day to process it. It was just my weekend, which was really unfair.
Yeah.
So I am glad she said something, but I think that's the reality of a contract worker. Like, I've never been a contract worker, and I took this job. I quit my finance job, and I took this job as a risk because I wanted to work in an industry that was more artistic and creative. Like, we're designing shoes and whatever, apparel. And I don't regret it.
yeah.
But I took it as a risk, knowing that it was only going to be a year, but also being promised that it was going to be full time. And then if not, like, that I was going to get my contract renewed. And what's so shitty about the situation too is that no one was fighting for me, and my manager had left. So the only person that was working with me, like, she managed to isolate me from the rest of the company. And then she left. And so then no one could speak to my work ethic or anything to fight for me to stay. And it was just like, thank you for all the work that you've done.
It's so cold.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, I was talking to some of my coworkers about the way that the tech layoffs have been working and, like, all the brutal ways that people have been getting let go. And, like, I don't know if there is, like, a right way to let someone go. Like, I've heard of people, like, they wake up and they can't turn on their laptops anymore, and, like, that's the way they find out. Or, like, they wake up and they say, like, oh, by the end of the day you're gonna hear something, but it'll be like that's your last day. And, like, I just don't know a humane way to do this, you know?
I don't think there is a humane way, but like, give someone more time to process it.
Agreed.
Like,
I agree.
You can schedule a meeting and be like, this is when we're going to find out the decision. And then on that day, you tell them, and it's like, you have 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It's just like when corporations ask us to give them 2 weeks notice.
Yeah.
But I get less than a business day's notice. Yeah. Which
Agreed.
is so hypocritical. And it wasn't, we all know, like, I've shared about my performance reviews and how I felt like I was really undermined. It wasn't that I love this company and I'm crushed.
Right.
You know that.
I know the
had
issue.
so many frustrations. I mean, the example of them giving me less than one business day of a notice speaks to the company culture and organization.
It's a cherry on top of your experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, like, I wanted to leave on my own terms.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the one that was like, peace.
Yeah.
Right? And it sucks because in the US, healthcare is attached to your job.
Yeah.
So now not only do I not have a job and an income, I also don't have healthcare. And in my head, I always thought I was going to be applying for jobs while still having all of that and then quitting on my own. But that's not the case.
And there's just so many like deeper levels of obstacles that you have here. Like you said, like with the healthcare, but also like you've been applying for jobs like the last few months. But with everyone else losing their jobs, like your chances of getting a job are even worse.
It's so competitive. And if all of tech is laying off, where else am I supposed to apply?
Yeah.
I'm not going back into finance. Like, I really know, one thing I learned from this job is that I know it's not for me. Finance isn't for me, but I don't really know what to even apply to and where to even go from here, like what my next steps are. And I'm live processing this. Like, it's not even been 24 hours.
Yeah, you literally just found out.
I just found out. So, I mean, there are a couple of options. There's grad school. There is, like, taking a class or program.
Yeah.
There's also just taking some time. It's
Personally?
also messed up because I am attaching my worth and my success to my career. Like, I'm saying I'm stuck if I don't have a job. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, but you're also just saying, like you just said, you're feeling stuck because you tried finance, didn't like it. You're trying this job, didn't like it. I would say that you might have liked the work if you had gotten the right work you were supposed to get, but the company culture like wasn't it for you. And so it doesn't mean that you wouldn't like working in like a creative role, just means that you just didn't like this team, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think you're like stuck because you don't have a job. It's you're stuck because you're like, you are waiting for an experience where you're like, I like this, I want to keep doing this, but you like haven't had that yet.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know what I want to do for a career and where I want to go with that. And so now I'm just applying to things that I think could be interesting, but I don't feel like I'm on a path. And maybe I feel stuck because while I'm unemployed, all of my friends are employed and they are still open to the idea of promotions and raises. And here I am just like trapped on this level. Everyone's moving upward.
Yeah.
I'm just looking out and being like, well, I suck.
That's fair. I think definitely there's a lot of embarrassment and like vulnerability that comes with being unemployed. Like most people our age are talking about our jobs, like complaining about our jobs, talking about what we're doing with our coworkers or like drama at work. And like that tends to be like a huge chunk of what we talk about.
Yeah.
But the moment that you don't have that to talk about, you suddenly feel very like else, like other. You know,
and now I have to think about in the daytime, what am I going to do while all my friends are working? I can't hit anyone up, be like, hey, you want to go to the beach?
Yeah.
And I think part of me is going to feel guilty going to the beach because I'm like, I'm not at work. I'm not working. And I'm going to spiral again. But this whole thing, I think, feeds into the fact that I've never had a gap in my career since like my freshman year in high school. I've always had an internship. I've always had a job. I was like a swim coach. And I was a Mandarin tutor. And I have never not had a job or an internship since high school.
Yeah.
So there was never a break. I've never gotten a break.
Yeah.
And to me, I was raised being like, you work hard to keep going, to be successful.
Right.
And you can't stop, right? Because the moment you stop or the moment there is a break, how would you explain that to someone looking at your resume?
Yeah.
All of this stuff. And it's scary now because I never expected something like this to happen to me.
Yeah, because you've always been careful and planned and like had, you know, one step ahead of everything.
Yeah.
I feel like probably what you're explaining is like what so many people are probably feeling with the tech layoffs too. It's like, we never thought this would happen to me. We never thought I'd be the one that gets let go, whatever the situation is. But do you feel like having this break, like the way you're talking about it, it sounds like you're like, I never got that break, as in I always wanted that break, but I didn't have it.
But the break is scary, right?
The break is scary.
There's a difference between having a transition period where I know that I have the next job lined up, but I don't know when that is. So how long is this break? How should I space it out? What should I be thinking about? It takes away like the blessing in disguise that everyone's talking about because maybe at first for a week I'll be like, this is amazing. I can plan all my trips and go somewhere and not have to request PTO and all of that stuff. But I don't know when it ends.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it makes it hard, I think, to enjoy the time off.
Because it's like always stressed. Like I should be applying for something. I should be studying for a test or whatever it is.
But I know something similar happened to you before too, where you had an indefinite break.
I had a super indefinite break in 2021 when my mom died. I was in a similar situation as Janice with my work where I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was growing in like the ways that I wanted to at a pace that I wanted to be growing. And I was like just dreading the idea of having to go back to a place I hated after like the worst thing in the world like happens to you. So I quit my job like I think 2 weeks after my mom died. I was like, they wanted me to come back after 2 weeks, and I had limited PTO, and I was like, I'm not ready to come back. To me, it was only 2 weeks.
It's your mom.
It's my mom, and my dad had already died. So I was like, it is just me. Like,
it's not like you're an adult that's fully, you're not 80 years old, fully prepared for this. You're 20.
I guess I was 25. I was 25. Yeah. So I was like, I need more time. Like, can I please like get another week off? And they were like, no, you can't. And I had unlimited PTO. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. I can't go back to work right now. So I quit my job.
Was it a hard decision for you?
No.
Like, how did you,
it was not a hard decision. I will say it is a very big difference, right? Like where I was coming in being like, I'm now orphaned, like, versus losing a job and like not have anything. Also because I was in a fortunate position while being in an unfortunate position where I knew I would have enough money to like sustain myself, and I wasn't paying rent at the time because I was living in my mom's house in my childhood home, so that was already paid off. So I didn't need to pay for rent. I was just gonna have to focus on food, basically. So in that way, I do feel like very lucky that I didn't have to think so hard about like needing the next thing. But it was never a question of me like, oh, I'll never get back into the workforce. Like, I think I had a lot of existential crises in that time. Like, I was like, I don't know when I'll go back. Eventually I'll go back to work, but like, there's so much that I can work on in this time. So I spent 7 months and I didn't work in 2021. And I really felt like the most growth during that time. Like I lived all by myself in my house growing up, very similar to the way that you live by yourself in like your family's house. And I took up weird hobbies. I started crocheting. I had a stint in crocheting for like 2 weeks. I did like a stint of crossword puzzles for a couple of weeks. And then I started my jewelry brand during that time too. Oh. And it was really like a time of creativity and like trying literally anything I thought could be remotely interesting.
Did you give yourself a set amount of time before you were going to start applying to jobs?
I didn't, but my family told me like, okay, you gotta start going back to work.
Because you were slowly turning into like this grandma that had a rocking chair knitting with your cat in your lap.
Yeah, I really liked being at home, and I was also like very depressed. And so like even thinking about having to wake up earlier than 11 a.m. was like very daunting to me. So my uncle was like, okay, I think you need to start like applying for stuff. Like it's time.
When did he start saying that?
He gave me, I think I started applying in September and my mom died in April. So May, June, July, August. So like 5 months. And then I got my offer in October, November.
That's really fast, like a month or two after.
Mm-hmm. And then I started the first week of December. Yeah. So I had like good 7 months.
Did you learn to code during this time? Or was that...
I did nothing really related to the work that I ended up doing at the end.
Mm-hmm. Now, like in this economy, do you think that strategy would work for me? That's what I'm nervous about too, is that like in your circumstance, it was on your own terms, as shitty as it was. And at a time where maybe the economy was growing. Actually, I don't know.
I don't think
that was during COVID, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a similar situation.
I think it was super similar because, we both wouldn't have to necessarily worry about rent during that time. And so that's a big privilege to have. And so it made me feel a lot more comfortable with the idea of like, okay, let's like really be introspective. And like, I journaled every single day. Like I was really, really trying to like dig deep and like let's use this time to grow, right? Which I think you would do, or hopefully you could do during that time. I just feel like yes, it's super uncertain how you're saying like, well, you don't know how long it's gonna take to get a job. It could take a really long time to get a job. But also I think once you start really grinding and applying and sending out all your applications, like, we'll have to see how it does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I honestly feel like so much of your direction that you had working at this current company, I still feel like you want to do that. And I still feel like you're going to be really good at it. Like the strategy and like being creative in your ideas and stuff, like you weren't able to like flex that muscle at all at this job. And so I just feel like it had so much to do with the company and not to do with like what you want to do.
I agree. The one thing I am grateful for is that it helped me unlock the potential of me liking this role and finding something that I'm more fitted or more fitted in. I don't know what the term is. Because I do want to do strategy, and I think I'm an ideas person.
Yeah, you are.
I love that aspect. Maybe even lean into marketing, but it is tough because on paper I don't have that experience, and people don't know that. Without an interview, it's hard for me to prove to people, like, I can come up with creative ideas and I can do this and I can do this. Now that we're talking too, I'm processing even more. And I still think I'm in like a state of shock maybe, which is why there are no tears rolling down my face. Like yesterday I started crying and just one tear came rolling down and that was it. And you know the times when you want to cry
and it's
so
not
much?
coming, you're like, let's go.
Just to release and then I'm good.
Yeah.
But now that we're talking, I'm starting to realize maybe why I'm so bothered by it too is because I'm the eldest. And I'm always seen as the sibling or the one in the family that has it all together. And I don't take a break because I can move up and up and up and up. And this feels like I failed everyone.
Failed
And I'm setting a bad example. And not only that, but I think what I worry about too is judgment.
Yeah.
I am still trying to think about not even myself, but immediately when my manager told me that my contract wasn't getting renewed, all I thought about was, what are people going to say about me?
Yeah.
How am I going to go into the office and tell people all of a sudden, hey, my last day is on the 24th, bye. Everyone's going to wonder why. And I can say some answer that's like, I'm going to go find my passion and this company really frustrated me and I can't take it. But I don't have a next step. So I think people are smart enough to be like, she got fired. But I didn't get fired.
But you didn't get fired.
Yeah.
I had that same like thought process too. Like when I said like, I'm giving you 1 week and then I'm out of my other job, like I was like, I wonder what people are going to think, because it wasn't like I put a company-wide announcement like, my mom is literally dying, like I'm not going to be coming into work. Like, no, I don't. That's something you really tell people.
Yeah,
you know?
you didn't broadcast. The context behind you quitting.
No, I just said I'm leaving, and like that was it. I sent an email saying it was my last day, and then I left. And so I was like, oh my god, like what are people going to say? And then like agreed with you on like the LinkedIn and like your resume. There was a clear gap, and it was still COVID time, so it's like. Well, like, I wonder if they thought that I got laid off. And so I remember feeling so vulnerable about that too when I was interviewing. And like, it was always the first thing I said. Like when I had the recruiter, like the first
You didn't
screen,
wait for them to ask you. You just said it.
I said it. I was like, you might have noticed the very obvious gap in my resume. And I wanted to let you know why I have that gap. So there was never like any chance they could have like wondered or like assumed anything. Like, no, I want you to know exactly why I have this gap and like what, like the ways that I've changed like because of this event.
But what am I gonna say?
Yours, yeah, but yours is due to layoffs though. Yours was not to do with your performance. And I think that was your biggest worry is like people think that you got fired because you did a bad job. And so I feel like, I don't know if this is good advice, but this is just what I did. Like, I just said, this is why. Like, I didn't want anyone to assume that I had gotten fired or laid off. But that's not what happened to you technically. You didn't get fired. Like, your contract ended and you were told that it was going to be renewed, and then it wasn't.
Because of budget cuts,
which is like what so many people are going through. And I feel like it's such a not a normal response, but like it's not an uncommon thing to hear, I feel. And so I just wanted to make sure it, got settled and I didn't have to like wonder if they were going to ask me.
I think that makes sense, and you always think worse in your head than when actually no one cares, or they're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
What I think about too is like what my exes will think of me. I don't think I care, right? I don't know how I feel yet, but it's this whole idea that I want them to know that I'm still better off without you, but on paper
it looks bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really real thought to have.
Yeah, but I think most of all, this is the cherry on top when you said in the beginning, it's that my 2023 has been a shit show. It's just one shit show after another.
Yeah.
Started with my scratched eye, then the canceled flight, then the lost luggage, then my manager quitting, then the performance review, then not having a manager, then having a manager that's not my manager in the system, then finding things out about my ex, and then now this.
Yeah.
Like every week, the universe just seems to not be able to give me a break. And every week, I'm like, you know what? It's only up from here.
And then it's like down from here. I know. It really is like incredible how bad every week seems to prove to you. I don't know. I don't know how it could get worse. Knocking on wood.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Oh, is this wood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God! That's so mean that you just knocked on my head. I knocked on yours back. I'm narrating to people who are only listening.
Oh, okay.
What were you saying?
I was gonna say that there's no way that it could get worse from here. There's no way, and if it does, then I don't know how it could. Like, I really don't know how it could get worse than this.
I don't know.
That's how I felt when my mom died, because after my mom died, then our families, like my cousin's dog died, who we've had in the family for like 12 years, and after he died, then my uncle died, and then there was just like other deaths too, intertwined of just people that I knew. So when you think it's over, you're like, this is it. Like this, there's no way it could get worse. And I remember telling my sister, she texted me like something so sad, and she was like, do you think that anything could get worse than this? And I said, there is nothing. There is nothing worse. And I didn't knock on wood.
Oh, okay. That's
why.
That's
yeah,
the key.
that was
or
why.
Knock on her head.
Yeah, I should have knocked on her
Yeah, that might have worked then.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, and then I guess it got worse, so.
Okay, but do you think once you hit that whole phase,
yeah,
when you came out of all of it, was it better than when you started? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't even think I'm out of it yet. Like, I don't know when I will feel like, I don't even think I'll ever be the same person that I was.
I don't think
before.
you can, because these experiences change.
They completely
your
change
perspective
you.
of everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I do notice certain things about myself that I wanted to work on and that I was able to do. And I'm like, oh my God, I never thought, like we talk about independence, right, all the time. And like, I lived with a live-in roommate, like, since freshman year of college. And obviously you do that in college, as one does. But I did it after college too. And me and my roommate, like, we're so close still, like, it totally worked out. She's my best friend.
Crazy.
But, like, I hated being alone. And to me, being in the same room as her was like, and she was the same. We were meant to do this together. Yeah, very codependent.
But now Emily is really independent because she's like, Janice, back off.
No, I don't think I'm, like, super independent, but I think being at home for those, like, all by myself for 2 months or 2.5 months, right? Like, it taught me how to, like, be okay being alone and being in my own thoughts, and, like, it, I think, trained me, and it allowed me the opportunity to, like, feel less alone when being physically alone. And I don't know if I would have ever had an experience where that would have allowed me to do that without having to feel like that level of depression. You know? So I wonder, that's kind of what I was saying to Janice last night, was like, not that this is like, but like you are in a spot where you really feel like you're lowest in a really long time, maybe ever. And maybe that's your opportunity to like really use this time. It's going to be super hard, but like to just
figure my shit out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Because I did think that I was slowly starting to lose the plot of my life.
Yeah.
And maybe the universe is just clearing my plate and giving me a clean slate to start with. But I think that does mean that I need to take this time to really think about my next move instead of reactively applying for jobs. Because if I reactively apply without really thinking about what I want in my job, I'm going to start that job just being reactive as well and not knowing why I'm in that job and having or feeling like I have to settle.
Yeah.
I need to be really clear about why I'm doing that job, right?
That's so smart. Yeah, I agree.
And I think one of the biggest things that I came out of learning from this company is that your job doesn't have to be your passion. It could just be a means to provide for a lifestyle that you want and you aspire for. And that's okay. You just need to go into the new job knowing that I'm not doing this because I love data. I'm doing this because I like the paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's okay to admit. I don't think that makes me shallow.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Because I know that this is the budget I need to provide for the lifestyle that I want, to go travel, for food, for this podcast that doesn't make any money. And I just need to remind myself of that. And that's maybe why I was so frustrated in this job, current job that my contract expired in, is because it wasn't giving me the paycheck. It wasn't giving me any interests. Like there was nothing in it for me.
Yeah.
And so all I could do was complain and also dabble here and there on applying for other jobs.
I completely agree. I remember when I started UCLA and I still felt so young and green, and I would go eat with some of my family members and they would tell me like you're just not gonna like whatever you choose. You won't like your job. Like no one likes what they do. And I remember feeling like so defeated after that conversation because I was like, no. Like, I'm going to love my job. Like, I know I'm going to love it.
You. Like, corporate America tells you.
When you grow up, it's like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And now I'm like, it has nothing, my future has nothing to do with my job. Or obviously it does, but like, the things that I want to do and the things that I get excited about isn't necessarily always tied to my title and like the company that I work for, where before I feel like I wanted so badly to have this huge company and it meant everything to me to be able to like aspire to that. And that was like my dream goal. Like I want to leave UCLA and work at Apple or work at whatever it is, right? And now it's like I love doing our podcast together and I love hanging out with my friends and being with Barry and like doing things that like just don't have to be tied to your job. And I think that maybe that's growth too, right? Coming to that mindset of like, doesn't have to be your everything.
It doesn't. I think you grow up thinking that because the people that we look up to, like actors or singers and artists, they get to do what they love and be and have it be their job. And that's so lucky.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome if I loved finance because then I can make money at the same time.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality, and that's okay to have hobbies outside and interests outside of your job. And I've also been thinking of this, but I think for certain hobbies, like I like art, it's not going to be fun for you anymore when it becomes
your job.
Money.
When
it's tied to you not only surviving but thriving in your life.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going to hate it, and that would be so unfortunate that you not only lost a career option, but you also, and you don't have the job that you, or a lifestyle that you want, but you lost your hobby.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's something that we think about too as we manifest like things for our podcast and like wanting this to like really take off. So, I mean, obviously we don't have a solution for this, but like, what if this does like become like something real for us? Then like, would we lose the magic there? Like, I don't know, but I agree with you. Like, I do enjoy the way that things are, where like we do have our corporate job, and that's so separate from like everything else that we do, you know?
Ever since we started this podcast, I feel like I don't think about my job as my passion. I am excited about when we film and we text about ideas and back and forth all the time, and that's enough for me, just sitting at work doing my job, because I know that it can fund this podcast.
Yeah, that's the shit that gets us excited. To talk about planning our episodes and like just like aspirations that we have for the podcast. It's what makes us keep going, you know? So I think like for now it works out.
And you know what? I want to say that for our podcast, I think if it turns into our job, this is one example where I think it could work out, because there's so many business aspects of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And we'd be able to hire a crew so we don't have technological issues.
Yeah, it just took forever to set up.
It took Emily and I 2 hours to just set up some mics and plug in some cables, and
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure.
So
anyways,
I'm sure in the next few weeks, I'm going to be still processing, and there might be like a part 2 to this.
Yeah.
But that's just how I feel today. Apologies if you're expecting tears. I'm expecting tears and they're just not coming. So if you had advice on how to trigger that.
Oh, I have so many ways. But anyways. Thank you all so much for listening. If you can relate to any of these like work struggles, gaps in your resume, losing your job, especially with these layoffs, like we'd love to hear your stories and
what you're doing to get through all of that.
Yes. Any and all advice.
And I'll keep you guys updated on what I decide to do every day.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be Jan Instagram takeovers.
Oh my God. Hi guys. It's day 1 of being fun employed. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well,
maybe.
Tune in.